Hello YouTube, it's Carlos the Rook, and I'm bringing you round 2 from Chess Zone December Generations. In Generations, adults play adults and kids play kids. And I was really happy in round 2 because I got to play Nicholas Karras, who's a national master. So his rating is currently 2117 and mine is 1781. So I start off with e4. He responds c6, indicating Caro Kann. I go d4, d5, and I go e5, the advanced variation. So here there's multiple moves that could be played. c5, bishop f5, and here he plays bishop f5. So I respond with h4. I got different variations I respond. This is just one that I play. He goes h5, and I go bishop d3, challenging the light square bishop. We trade bishops. He go e6. This is all theory. And I go bishop g5, hitting the queen. Now here is also multiple moves can be played. You can go bishop e7. You can go queen b6, queen a5. It's just multiple moves that can be played, and they're all pretty good. So Nicholas chose queen b6. And so theory here is knight d2, allowing the queen to capture the b2 pawn if she wants. But if she does, white gets massive counterplay. So Nicholas doesn't go after the b pawn. Instead, he goes queen a6, offering to trade queens. And from the variations I played, I knew that c4 was a move here. So I go c4, not trading queens, but challenging his center. And here Nicholas played knight d7. So I just developed my knight on the king side, knight f3. And now he plays knight h6 with the idea to play knight f5. So I castled here. Now see, this is where chess, okay, now is doing different. Like chess.com engine and ChessBase, Stockfish 17.1 don't always agree because chess.com wanted me to capture the knight on h6, which is, in my prep, you don't capture that knight. But see, now it's saying castle. So it's fluctuating between castling and capturing the knight. So the deeper the computer analyze, then it figures out which one is the best move. But it's saying white is better here. But it's saying bishop captures h6 in order to control the f5 square. So in this variation, it doesn't want black to come to f5. So will I castle here? And I'm allowed knight f5. And now it wants queen b3 or a3. I play a3. And my idea is just keep the bishop off b4 and hit b4 myself. Just get some space on the queen side. And here Nicholas captured. I didn't expect this. Let me back up and see if this is a move. Yes, it's a move. It's not the best move in the position, but it is a move. I think the engine likes bishop e7 more. So Nicholas captures. And here, I had to contemplate. I can capture back, but I gotta make sure that my queen don't get pinned. Because knight b6, hitting the knight twice. Then I got b6. And you can't do bishop a3 because then your queen is pinned. So the position holds. I know I can capture. So I captured the knight. And here he played knight b6 like I thought. And b3 was my initial idea. Just to play b3 and the knight's protected. I could bring a rook to back up the queen. I can bring another knight to protect this knight if needed. Yeah, so b3 just holds the position, and white is clearly ahead, 1.17. Oh, now it's saying the engine is saying b3 is the only move. But I thought I'd get cute in this position because I seen b3 and I figured that was the best move, but I also seen knight d6 check. And you can't, even though my queen is hanging, you can't take the queen because you're in check. So I figured knight captures, queen captures, b captures, pawn captures, bishop captures back, and you have doubled up pawns, isolones, and I have a point to attack. So I went into that line thinking that I'm destroying his pawn structure and giving myself targets. So knight d6, and now white is no longer ahead. Black has the advantage now. Knight captures, queen captures, pawn captures, pawn captures, bishop captures. And so now my idea here, this is the position I had in my head. I'm going to double up rooks on the c file. I can bring my knight to e5, and I can hit that pawn 3 times. And that c pawn should fall. And once that c pawn falls, I should be able to infiltrate black structure. However, Nicholas came up with an excellent defense that I didn't see. I bring a rook to the a file. He plays f6, hid my bishop back. And I didn't really understand f6. I thought he just wanted my bishop to retreat. So I retreated to e3. And here he plays king d7. An excellent move. Now he can bring the rook here and double his rooks up on the c file and protect his pawn. So I start to double up the rooks. And he go rook to b8. I didn't think that was the right place. I thought the rook had to go to the c file, but I was wrong. I bring the second rook over, and he just slides his rook over, and now it's protected. So now I'm trying to figure out, how do I get in? So I started thinking maybe I can do backward knight's move and remaneuver the knight, knight d2, to maybe e4 or c4, and try and come up with something. And maybe even not the c4 to a5. Like that. And get a third person onto this pawn. So I went with the knight d2. And Nicholas goes knight d5. Hitting the bishop. I don't mind the bishop trade because then I get 2 pawns in the center. And my bishop's not doing anything right now anyway. So here I go knight e4 instead of c4. Let me see what the engine say was the best. King, rook d1. The engine wants rook d1. Or king f1. I played knight e4. Just hitting at the bishop. My idea is to get the bishop to go away. And he plays rook b3. And that's an excellent move. He just pinning this pawn down, putting pressure on the b pawn. And I can't move my rook anywhere or that pawn will fall. So I go rook e1. Because his idea also is to take twice on e3. And now he doubles up. So here I was thinking about pushing the rook on the e file to e2 and protecting that way. But then I thought I can just drop the bishop back to c1 and then I don't have to worry about a rook coming in here at all. Because he doesn't want to give up the exchange. The engine wants rook on e to e2, and black is up 1.57, or 1.68 now. So I drop down bishop c1, and Nicholas comes up with rook d3, a really, really good move. So now this pawn is weak. This pawn is being hit. So I come up with knight c5 check. And my idea is you capture, I capture, and I get the pawn out of being attacked. So he captures, I capture back. And now Nicholas goes up to d4, hitting his pawn on h4. So I double up on the e file, hitting this pawn on e6. A pawn for a pawn is what I'm saying. Nicholas pushes up to e5. And here I go rook e4, protecting my pawn and offering a rook trade. He captures, I capture. And here I feel like my position is solid. Everything is protected. I want to do a b4, but it got to be timely so I don't hit a5 to break up the pawn chain. So I want rook a4, hitting that. And Nicholas go rook b5, attacking the c pawn. So I can't figure out how to say the pawn. If I go over here to try and hit his pawns, he hit and then hit my bishop with check. So that doesn't work. So I can't go after the a pawn. If I go b4, it's a5, and he's hitting a5 twice. So I didn't see any other way to hold but rook c4. The engine's saying b4 anyway. b4, a5, bishop d2. So this is what the engine wants. b4, a5, bishop d2. And what I didn't like about that was this. Now how do you play? It's saying bishop captures a5 is the only move. And it wants rook b2, rook b1 check. Rook e1. Why would you not take one of these pawns? I don't understand that. Rook captures, bishop captures. King c7, so the king just manually walks over there. King f1. King b7. g3. King a6. King e2. And e4 here. What does e4 do? f3, f5. F captures, F captures. Okay, basically what you're doing here, you're holding the king at bay. So the king can't come up. The knight and the pawn is stopping the king momentum. Now the king has to go this way and then over to protect that pawn. And by the time the king get way over there, this pawn just goes forward. So that's how black is winning in that line. So I went rook c4. And Nicholas went king e6. His idea is to move the knight and come in. So I go king f1, trying to centralize my king and get my king into the game. And he goes knight c7. I drop down rook c2. My idea is to reroute the rook to the d file to keep the king out. And he goes rook b3. I go rook d2. And now my idea is rook d6 check. Picking up a pawn. A pair of pawns. Picking up a pair of pawns. So Nicholas goes back, knight d5, stopping the rook from infiltrating. And so here I felt like the position was drawn. The engine gives black negative 3.27, so engine got black completely winning. So I just go g3, I go rook c2. And my idea is to get back to rook c4, rook a4, and put some pressure on that weak pawn over there. So Nicholas goes f5. I go rook c4. And now he goes rook b5, putting pressure back on the b pawn and stopping me from going to the a file. So here I had a long think. I said, maybe if I could bring my king over, I could find a way to have my bishop protect the c pawn and then get my rook onto the a file. So I bring my king to e1. Nicholas plays knight f6. So his idea is to reroute the knight and hit the pawn twice. So I drop the rook back down to c2. Because I'm going to need to move my bishop to protect that pawn once it gets hit twice. And here he plays a5. He's stopping me from playing b4. Now I think bishop d2 would have been the best move here. And the engine agrees bishop d2. Or f3, stopping the knight from coming to e4. I thought the knight was going to d7. So I played g3 here. Just to put some protection on my pawns, because my king is going to be moving to the other side of the board. And here he goes, knight e4. Bishop e3, protecting the pawn. King d5. And here I felt like I did all this work and I'm losing the pawn. And if I lose that pawn, I'll lose the game. So I thought for a second, rook d2 check. The king steps up. I can't even do rook d2 because the knight hits that. So I came up with the idea a4, hitting the rook. The rook has to drop down. It drops down to b3. And here I wanted to do some f3. I had some f3 ideas, but the rook being on b3, my bishop is hanging. Because I wanted to go f3, knight captures, king to f2. When the knight has nowhere to go, it has to go to h1, and I'll go king g1 and pick up the knight. Well, I mean, not king g1, but king g2 and pick up the knight. So the rook on b3 stopped that. So I just go king d1. And here he goes f4. And I'm low on time here. I think I had 7 minutes left of time. And here I took a 5-minute think. Left myself with 2.5 minutes. And what I was thinking here is I have to capture. I can't let him capture twice on g3. So I got to capture. So I'm thinking g captures f. E captures F, bishop captures F, rook H3, and how do I keep that pawn alive? Like, if I go rook G3, the knight captures. I go rook G5, the knight captures, and then he just has a passed pawn on the H file that I'm not going to be able to stop. So I didn't see any way to stop it, so I felt like I just had to go off into the line. So I capture. He captures back. I captures, and I was fully expecting rook H3 here. And the engine says rook H3 is the best move in the position. Instead, Nicholas captures the pawn on C5. And I was like, man, if I'd known he was going to do that, I wouldn't have took so much time. Now he lost a lot of his advantage. It's down to negative 1.92. Advantage to black. So here it's saying the best move is bishop E5. Giving up the bishop for the knight. But I didn't see that. I went bishop E3. So he goes knight D3, hitting the B pawn. So I decided to pin him, rook D2. And he goes C5, moving his pawn up. And here, I went king E2, but now that I'm looking at the position, king C2, hitting the rook and knight looks so much better. Yeah, king C2 would have been better. So I went king E2. He goes C4, protecting the knight. And I capture the pawn on the A file. He takes the rook. I take back. He takes back. And now my idea is just to stop the C pawn. I move the bishop to the B file. He takes my A pawn. I take his A pawn. So now we're in a minor piece, bishop versus knight. He's a pawn up. I just got to find a way to stop the C pawn and then keep him from eating up my pawns on the king side. So he played knight C5. And I swing the bishop over to the other side to protect my pawn. I'm trying to make sure I don't get any forks with his knight. And he moves his knight over, hitting the bishop. I go back to protect the pawn this way. Moves his king over. I move the bishop back. He brings his king over again. And I bring my bishop to this is the B8 H2 diagonal. So I can sit at G3 and protect my pawns if need be. So he brings the knight into a check with F4. I sidestep. The knight go after the pawn. I protect it. Brings his king over. I go to get his other pawn since I'm going to lose a pawn. Knight captures H4. King captures C4. And at this point in the game, I'm playing off purely increment. It was a 60-minute game with 5-second increment. I'm playing on 5-second increments. I got like maybe 10 seconds on the clock. And I'm getting down to like 3 seconds and playing my move and going to 8 seconds. So I'm playing purely off increment. And we had a crowd watching us at the end of the game, and it was just action paced. So he go knight F5, hitting the bishop. I retreat the bishop. I don't want to trade. I'll go into a losing king pawn endgame. He go king F3. And I'll swing the bishop over to protect the pawn. And here he plays h4. He's going to walk this pawn right in. And queen. And if I go over to try and stop it, I'll lose this pawn. So I go king d3, trying to get my king closer to protect the pawn. He goes knight d6. So I go bishop to b8, hitting the knight, since his knight is trying to stop me from being on this diagonal. He goes knight f5. And here I was trying to decide where I want to put my bishop, but I couldn't decide in time and I flagged. I lost on time. So this was a very, very good game. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot of experience. I got to have an action pace ending at the end where I was just playing off increment, 5-second increment. You got to really be shooting out lightning moves, and you can't even think. It's got to be all instinct. Thank you for watching this recording. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. And tell all your friends about it. Let's grow this channel. Have a nice day and happy holidays.